With this, we'll get into the next corporate presentation for the day on the topic, Shake, Don't Stir. Unique approaches of deep transformation that solve today's leadership challenges. For the same, I would like to call upon the speaker, Mr. Gatik Chaujer, co-founder, TransforMe. Let's applaud for the speaker, Mr. Gatik Chaujer.
Good afternoon, everyone. Really happy and really excited to be here. Part of my excitement is to see so many people even after lunch. I was expecting half of you to leave after lunch, but thank you so much for being here. Really grateful to get this opportunity to talk to all of you. Thank you. If you can put it on the slideshow, perfect. Excellent. Just checking it's working. Brilliant. The first thing I'll perhaps start off with is take a look at this cog, this cogwheel set. Now just imagine if you have to move this cogwheel set using the contents of this bottle. Where are we? Using the contents of this bottle, how would you do that? You'd perhaps pour the contents onto the cogwheel set. And how much would that move the cogwheels? If you just pour it. It's going to move a little bit, right? It's not going to move a lot. It's not going to have too much momentum. It's not going to have too much acceleration. But if you want to accelerate the movement, what could you do? With the same contents, if you want to accelerate the movement of the wheel cog set, you could perhaps take the contents. I was looking for a bottle. I just got a can. So anyways, I'm going to do it with this. And you can shake it up and let it expand, right? And when you do that, imagine the force with which the contents are going to hit the cogwheel set. And imagine the momentum it's going to gain and the acceleration it's going to get. Now just imagine this cogwheel set is your organization. Needing to move fast, needing to accelerate, needing to go faster than your competitors, which is the reality for most of us, I reckon. And imagine the contents of this bottle is your talent, your leaders, your managers, your people. What can we do to fully unleash the potential of our leaders, of our managers, of our people, to really push the cogwheel set in a positive way to create the kind of acceleration your organization needs for the kind of growth that you aspire for? My name is Gatik Chaujer, and I'm here to talk to you about a philosophy, an approach that I, as the co-founder of TransforMe, believe in: shake, don't stir. How many of you are ready for one more talk around AI? Well, I was hoping there'll be fewer hands, but a few more. Okay, that's all right. I can switch. I can get into AI, thank God, because I'm not here to talk about AI at all. I've sat there since morning, and I've heard some of the amazing stuff that's happening with AI. And as an organization, we are early adopters of AI. We've built a manager development tool using AI, so I'm a huge believer in the power of AI. But I also heard a lot of speakers, everybody who was here, talking about the fact that the human element is not going to go. And that's not a small element. That's a fairly significant element that I want to talk to you about today. But first of all, who am I to talk about this? Who am I to talk about this approach called shake, don't stir, to transform your talent? Why am I qualified to talk about this in front of you today? I don't know, actually, if I'm qualified to talk about this in front of you today, but I'm deeply passionate about it. But I want to give you 4 reasons why I can share some insights with all of you today, which could potentially help you, because I'm here to create value. Reason number 1, I'm the co-founder of a global award-winning company, TransforMe, operating out of India, Singapore, and Australia. Gives me a lot of opportunity to do this kind of work, shake, don't stir, with a lot of our clients. Reason number 2, we have, over the last 12 years, delivered transformational value for over 200 clients across 20 countries using this very approach, one of the most unique approaches, using a blend of 6 transformational methods from India, from Israel, from Australia, from US, from UK, and bringing them together to create our own methodology, our own secret sauce, which is reason number 3, that I am the co-creator of a methodology popularly known as the TransforMe Lab, one of the most potent catalytic shake-ups that can happen for any leadership team, any managerial team, any talent transformation project. And finally, reason number 4, over the last 12 years, we built our reputation as the go-to partners for organizations that are looking for something unique, something different, something special that acts as a catalyst and really accelerates the cogwheel movement for the organization. That's where we really come in and help our clients. And I'm here today to share with you some of my learnings over the last 12 years of doing this work with a lot of our clients. And this topic is very close to my heart because this is the reason why I co-founded TransforMe about 12 years back with a very clear mission to uncover, discover, and deliver transformational methods that don't exist in the corporate boardrooms today. And that's something we've been doing for 12 years. So really excited to share some of the lessons that I picked up over the last 12 years. I'm going to talk to you about 5 reasons why I believe every organization needs to start looking at shaking things up from a learning and development perspective. 5 reasons why we need to use a shake-up approach in your learning initiatives. The first reason is what I call shock to days needs a shake-up. Now, very often when I'm speaking with CEOs of companies, CHROs of companies, and learning heads of companies, I'm sitting across the table with them, having a conversation, and ever so often I have this dialogue with them where they look at me and they go, our people are not really motivated. Our people, are a bit confused. They're going through the motions, they're doing the stuff, but they're not really delivering that impact. That potential kind of is missing. What can you do, right? What can be done? Now, even before we answer the question of what can be done, we need to understand why it's happening. And we don't need to go too far to figure out why it's happening. We just need to go back to 3 or 4 years to understand what's really happened. Starting off with the pandemic, which was a big hit for everybody. It was a big shocker, talking about shock. It shook everybody up to the extent that everybody was holed up in their houses. There was isolation, which then led to work from home, then led to hybrid. All of that started happening. And in the midst of all of this, an exciting thing happened, a very interesting thing happened. Many people started re-evaluating their lives. How many of you did that? Give me a show of hands. Started re-evaluating our lives, right? And that's beautiful, right? We all did, even I did. But here's the challenge with that. Most of us, most people, and even your talent, started re-evaluating their lives in isolation. Without really speaking to somebody or seeking guidance or counsel, we started re-evaluating. And we all know what happens when you start re-evaluating your life and your choices just by yourself in isolation. Very often, instead of getting a space of clarity, we can end up in a state of confusion and chaos, right? And that's exactly what's happened with a lot of people. They're a bit dazed even now. There's a bit confusion. Let me give you an analogy to help explain this a little better. My father was in the armed forces, so I'm going to use some examples from there. I hope that's okay with all of you. I've lived up listening to those stories. And on the next slide, I'm going to show you an image. It's a war image, so I don't want to shock anybody. I'm not using it for shock value. I don't want to hurt anybody's sensitivities, but I'm using it to just drive home a point, so please give me the permission to do that. So picture this. Imagine the battlefield, and in the battlefield, imagine there's a soldier. And the soldier is in the middle of the war, and the soldier gets shot in the foot and is injured. Now, as the soldier gets shot and is injured, is in absolute shock, absolute complete shock. Now, this soldier is trying to stand up, trying to find his bearings, and he's in a complete daze, doesn't know what's happening around him, absolutely confused, absolutely shell-shocked. But as he's standing up, the bullets are still whizzing past. The bullets are not stopping. And in that moment, somebody needs to come up and hold this person by the shoulder and gently shake this person and say, hey, buddy, you got to get a move on. Because in that moment, it's not about winning, it's about survival. So I'm using this analogy to drive home the point that why do we need a shake-up exercise in talent transformation, in people transformation, in leadership development, in top team alignment? It's because a lot of people need that today. It's not a moment where we can go slow with things. There has to be a gentle shake-up, and there are ways that it's possible. We've been doing it for the last 12 years. So that's the first reason why. Shock to days, there's a need for a shake-up. The second reason why I believe really strongly in a shake-up process for learning is because of reduced feedback and the increasing gap in expectations. So I was speaking to this, what do I call him? Okay. I was speaking to the senior exec the other day, a couple of weeks back. I was in a coaching conversation with the senior exec. And the senior exec, talks to me. The reason I'm coaching him is he's struggling with some performance pressures. The company is really going very fast, and he's struggling with some performance pressures, and I'm working with him as his coach. And as we have the conversation, it soon emerged that it's not that he's struggling with performance pressures per se. His bigger challenge is how does he manage expectations with his people and have real performance conversations. Now, this is, mind you, a very senior exec that I'm talking about. And I was a little surprised because as I was speaking to this leader, he came across as a very confident, very assertive, very focused, very direct leader. So I'm like, this doesn't add up, Sachin. This doesn't add up. I mean, you're telling me you can't have these performance conversations, these tough conversations about performance with your people, but I'm experiencing you being super direct and so focused and so assertive. What's going on? And quite sheepishly, he looked at me and he said something that really shocked me. He said, I don't want to be labeled as an unempathetic leader. I don't want to be labeled as an unempathetic leader. Now consider that for a moment, coming from a senior exec, and consider the impact of that on an organization. But again, we've got to deep dive and understand the why this is happening. What is really going on and why do we need to shake up? Now again, with all of this talk, especially over the last 4 or 5 years, about empathy and psychological safety, again, both areas that I'm deeply passionate about. We speak a lot about authenticity, psychological safety in the work that we do. But here's what's happened. We've spoken so much about psychological safety and empathy without equipping people to understand how to balance that with performance. So people don't really know, many leaders, many managers don't really know how to balance the two and come to a space. And what that's leading to, interestingly, is a bigger problem. Because there is less feedback, because people are working hybrid, because we're using technology for feedback, because of all of that that's happening, many people today have what I call a misplaced sense of self-awareness. Consider this for a moment. A lot of your talent sitting in your organizations right now feel that they're doing all the right things because they're not being told otherwise. And the leaders don't have that courage right now to have those conversations with them. And what we need is a gentle shake-up for these people to help them look in the mirror and really understand what's really going on. So that's the second reason. Oh, I've got the screen here as well. Awesome. I didn't realize that. That's the second reason why we need to use a shake-up approach to our learning interventions. Before I get into the third reason, which is my personal favorite, deeply love it, let's switch gears a little bit. Let's do a bit of an experiment here. Okay, let's do a bit of an experiment here. All of us sitting in this room have had some events in our life that have defined us, that have shaped us. You call them defining moments, you call them turning points, right? How many of you can think of a few? Just give me a show of hands, just checking here. Yeah, we've had moments. We've had moments that hit us, that shocked us, that impacted us, but made us who we are. Right? How many of you have had events like that? Give me a show of hands. Yeah, many people, right? Now here's what I'm going to ask you to do really quickly. And so you're sitting alone, so we'll have to figure out how we balance that out for you. Otherwise, I'll come and chat with you. But I want you to pair up with the person to your left. Person to your left. If you can pair up with the person to your left, and you can pair up with him if you don't mind. Folks, please pair up with somebody. Just adjust your chairs a little bit. Please pair up with the person that's your right. I meant the left. Yeah. So just pair up with the person, and here's what I'm going to ask you to do. Please use this time. Indulge me. Do this experiment with me. 60 seconds. Can I invite you to share with the partner, with that person, that one event that you can think of that has had a huge impact on you? 60 seconds you share, and then let the other person share. I can see the people at the back haven't changed their seats, so I'm going to walk. I'm very picky that way, right? Please, have that conversation. It's a great opportunity. Find somebody. Yeah, there he is. You got a partner. There he is. Yeah, absolutely. Can we just pair up and have a bit of a chat? 60 seconds. I'm going to call time in 2 minutes. You can have a conversation. Nobody's going to bite. I promise. At least that's what they told me. Just an event that shaped you, had some kind of an impact on you. It can be the three of you. She won't slap you, I promise. Okay. You're just smiling at me. You're not having a chat. Some people have just come in, they're wondering what's going on, just having a bit of a chat. It's not possible I just have 5 minutes left. All right, thank you. Thank you, thank you. If I can reel in the conversation, I'm sorry if I can reel in the conversation, thank you. And sorry if it was a bit abrupt for some of you, but now you know the faces of the people. There's nothing stopping you from having a chat with somebody outside. Folks, can I have your attention back? See, this is the problem with storytelling. You can start, but you don't know when to stop. Very difficult to stop. Thank you. Thank you, folks. Thank you. So first thing, how did you feel having this conversation? Good, I'm seeing some thumbs up. Nice, I'm seeing some smiles. Some people have woken up after my boring talk. And that's my reason number 3. We are becoming increasingly transactional. And that's happening with your talent, that's happening with your managers, that's happening with your leaders. Everything we're talking about is AI and tech, and great respect for it. Beautiful, absolutely. But are we somewhere forgetting the human element? Are we underscoring the human element? You know, I'm reminded of this movie Sully. How many of you have seen the movie Sully with Tom Hanks? Yeah, beautiful movie, right? The guy lands the plane in the Hudson River. He lands the plane in the Hudson River. And when he's brought in for an interrogation or whatever they do, they play the entire thing on a simulation and they show him that he should not have landed on the river. He could have landed at the airport. How many of you remember that scene, right? And he just said one line. He said, you guys haven't factored in the human element, right? So the point I'm making is that with the world becoming so transactional, what are we doing to equip our people, our talent, our managers and leaders to learn how to get onto the higher order skills? Because AI is going to take up everything that's transactional. We've heard enough of and more of that. So what is it that we need to do? The need for your talent, for your people, is to evolve to the next order skills. Ability to take decisions, ability to problem solve, ability to empathize, ability to inspire, ability to influence. Where are we on that? Now, it's so interesting that while all of this is happening with AI and tech, the need is for us to go to higher order skills, but what I see many leaders, many managers, many people doing is still being a lot transactional. So it's exactly the opposite of what we need. How many of you get that? Am I talking gibberish? You get that? Okay, 2 people get it. Okay, 3 people, 4. Some of you get it. Good. Thank you. Now, let me give you an example. Case in point. How many of you actually had a chat with somebody sitting next to you? Now, this is not an embarrassing moment. I'm not going to pull on people who've not had a chat. But I see you. You didn't have a chat. You didn't have a chat. Okay. I'm going to catch you outside. I'm going to have a chat with you. But now think about the person that you just spoke to. And let me ask you this question. Will it not be easier for you to influence this person now? Will it not be easier for you to influence this person now? If you were to look at this person right now and say, hey, you know what? This talk is getting boring. Let's go out and get a cup of coffee. It is going to be easier for you to influence this person. And you know why? Because you've just had that conversation. So reason number 3, where are we? 3, we're becoming increasingly transactional. We need to humanize, and that, again, needs a bit of a shake-up. Reason number 4 is low experimentation. Really, really interesting, fascinating to see how many organizations are moving with experimentation in products and solutions. MVPs are being built, everything is being done, but no experimentation on behaviors. I was doing a top team alignment lab for a large multinational pharma company, and with the CEO and the leaders, and the conversation came up saying that trust takes time. Building trust takes time, one leader said, very confidently when there were issues, there were dysfunctions, there were artificial harmony in the team, and the leader looks at me and goes, building trust takes time, Gatik. I said, I get it, but I'd like to challenge it. When he said building trust takes time, I just asked him 2 questions. I said, is your organization moving fast or slow? He said, fast. I said, does your organization have time? He said, no. I said, then how come you can take time to build trust? We've got to challenge some of these notions and look for shake-up processes that can really, really accelerate the process of building trust much, much, much faster. So that's reason number 4. And coming to the 5th one, reason number 5, there we are. All right, need for speed, which is what I need to do with 1 minute left on the clock. Need for speed. Every organization moving super fast. I speak to CEOs. They tell me the problem statement very simply. They said, when I hired this team, this was a GCC in Bangalore. They said, when I hired my leadership team 4 years back, they were 2 times more capable than their role. They were bigger than the role. But now in the last 4 years, now the company is moving at a speed of 3x. But my team is still evolving at the rate of 1x. Big challenge. Yes, I hear you. I'll take 30 seconds more. 0 minutes over time. So those are the 5 reasons why I believe it's critical to use a shake-up process, a shake-up exercise. And at TransforMe, we've done that with what we call the TransforMe Labs. You can create your own version. You can do your own thing. But here's my appeal to all of you. Here's my invitation to all of you as HR leaders, HR professionals, learning professionals. Can I invite you to explore and experiment unique transformational methods to humanize this aspect using something that is more catalytic, that is more systemic, that creates a bit of a shake-up, but in a way that really creates huge transformation. I'm going to leave you with this quote that I really love from Paulo Coelho. Many of you have probably heard this. So let's ditch routine. Time to shake things up a little bit, folks. Thank you so much, and thank you for bearing with me for the last 15 minutes. Thank you.
Wow, that was a super dynamic session by none other than our speaker, Mr. Gatik Chaujer. Sir, can we please have you on stage? Mr. Gatik Chaujer, can we please have you on stage for a moment? And may I call upon Mr. Anil Tyagi, Director HR Kusum Group, was the moderator for the last panel discussion, to felicitate our speaker, Mr. Gatik, with a small token of appreciation. And let's keep the applause going.